So we're here back at day 19, Agile metrics and reporting. What gets measured gets managed, demonstrating value in Agile projects. So objectives for day 19, right? Understand the purpose and importance of Agile metrics. Learn key Agile metrics and how they are used to measure progress and value. Explore reporting techniques to communicate Agile performance effectively, and then prepare for situational and knowledge-based questions on Agile metrics. So what are Agile metrics, right? We're getting into the weeds of things. I wanted to really dive into some of the concepts within Agile. With you, honestly, I ran track all my life, and so speed is something that you always talk about, and velocity. I just love stuff that goes fast. You know, when you're trying to get yourself to go fast, you just think, you love stuff that goes fast. I don't know if that's corny or what, but velocity. So measuring the team's output, right? So definition of velocity in this term, and in this situation, in this context, is velocity is a measure of how much work a team can complete during a single iteration or a sprint. It's typically expressed in story points, hours, or other units of effort, right? So how it's used is that velocity helps predict the future capacity and plan its upcoming sprints, right? So it's an essential tool for understanding a team's pace and ensuring realistic sprint goals. So it enables predictability. It also, you would use its historical data to identify what your velocity would be. And so think of velocity as this. You've accomplished in the past with this team, specific team, and you really can only estimate it if you have the same team that you've worked on multiple projects with. You've accomplished this many things or this many deliverables, right, within this time period. And so that becomes your velocity, right? Your average of amount of deliverables completed during a given set amount of time, mapped out over multiple projects or multiple iterations or multiple sprints, becomes your velocity. Does that make sense? So if you were able to accomplish 6 deliverables in this sprint, 5 deliverables in this sprint, 7 deliverables in this sprint, your velocity is 6. Does that make sense? So an example is a team compiles or completes 40 story points in a sprint. In the next sprint, they plan for a similar workload, adjusting for any additional complexities or interruptions. Why it matters, right? So velocity sets expectations for the stakeholders and ensures the team doesn't overcommit. It also provides a benchmark for continuous improvement, right? So if you're not sure where you would be at, you would use something like this, right? You use your historical data, pull up how many story points, right? How many user stories you've completed within that time period based on the complexity, based on the workload, break it down, analyze it, and you use that to set an expectation for this next sprint that is achievable, right? You guys don't want to, like it says, you don't want to overpromise to your stakeholder, right? Because if you're overpromising to your stakeholders, you're probably going to fail, especially when problems arise, right? Murphy's Law, what will go wrong? What could go wrong will go wrong. And so you need to make sure that you're planning accordingly. 2, the second Agile metric that you would use is a burn down chart, right? Tracking remaining work. So a definition of a burn down chart is a graphical representation of the amount of work remaining in a sprint or project. It's used for progress monitoring and identifying delays, right? It tracks whether the team is on track to meet the sprint goal, or if the chart shows a flat line, no reduction in work, it indicates potential delays or bottleneck, right? So how it works is that the vertical axis represents the amount of work, i.e. story points, and the horizontal axis represents time. Ideally, the chart shows a downward slope reaching 0 by the end of the sprint. And you'll see an example of this and some of the examples back in the back of the book that show a burn down chart and what it looks like. Example, right? So a team starts a 2-week sprint with 50 story points. By day 7, the chart shows 25 points remaining, indicating steady progress. If by day 10, only 5 points have been completed, the chart signals a potential delay. Why it matters? Well, a burn down chart provides a visual cue for sprint progress, helping the team make adjustments before it's too late to meet the goal. And you'll use this more often than not because it helps you, like it said, track progress, right? And so one of the things that a lot of people use this for is the 50 points, right, is what you estimated, right? 50 story points is what you need to complete because that's what you said you estimated based off of your velocity from the last sprint or the last couple sprints, right? And so as you're moving through solving the problem, right, accomplishing the story points, right, and you're gaining, if it's a 2-week sprint and you're on day 10, right, and only 5 points have been completed, there's a problem, right? There's a problem. So this just helps you track the remaining work. It's basically a different way of using a Kanban board or any other type of chart that you would use to track delays, to track progress, that type of thing. So just make sure that you understand the difference between this and the next chart because it will get you if you don't read it the correct way. So 2 is burn down chart, 3 is burn up chart, right? So visualizing progress and scope, right? So definition, a burn up chart shows the amount of work completed over time alongside the total scope of work. So how it's used is scope changes, right? Unlike the burn down chart, a burn up chart can be shown when new work has been added to the project. Progress tracking, right? So it provides a clear view of how much work has been completed relative to the overall scope. How it works is the chart has two lines. One represents the total the total scope of work, and the other represents the work completed. The gap between the lines highlights how much work remains. You'll see an example of this down in the back of the book. Example, right? A burn up chart shows 80% of the work has been completed. However, new features have been added, increasing the total scope, which now pushes the remaining work to 30%. One thing that I want you to do is really look at the difference between the two. And you're able now, if you just go on Google, you can search, burn down chart versus burn up chart, gain that information, right? You have AI right there that will tell you the difference between the two, because Google has their AI thing. Like I said, AI is being integrated into everything. And so it'll be able to tell you the difference right there in simple terms, right? Layman's terms. So an example for a burn up chart is that it shows 80% of the work has been completed. However, the new features have been added, increasing the total of the scope, which now pushes the remaining work to 30%. See how that works? So go online, do some research, right? We have some resources in the back of the book, but go ahead, do some research, and it's going to help you out. Why it matters, right? So burn up charts give stakeholders a complete picture of progress and any changes to the project scope, fostering some transparency, right? You always want to foster transparency because stakeholders are going to be looking for that information anyways. Make sure that you're giving it upfront. 4, cycle time. Measure task duration, right? So cycle time measures how long the task will take to move from in progress column to the done column on the Kanban board or Scrum board, right? So how it's used is that it shows where bottlenecks are, right? So bottleneck identification highlights areas where tasks are getting stuck. It also shows the process efficiency, helps the team improve workflows to reduce task completion time. Example is a task may average 3 days to move from in progress to done. However, a specific task is stuck for 7 days due to dependency issues, indicating a bottleneck, right? So why it matters is that a shorter cycle time means faster delivery of value. Regularly monitoring cycle times helps teams optimize their processes, right? And so you have to maintain overview of the cycle, because as you start to complete tasks, you may have situations where tasks are dependent on other tasks and you have a bottleneck that you need to focus on and put your attention to and maybe bring up during some of these meetings so that you guys can accomplish it. And it's not just one person tracking all and trying to deal with the situation themselves. Sometimes it takes a team effort in order for you to accomplish those problems and clear that bottleneck. 5, right? This is the 5th agile metric or reporting tool that you would use, which is lead time, right? So it's measuring overall task duration. Lead time measures the total time from when a task is added to the backlog to when it is completed. How it's used, right? So workflow analysis provides an end-to-end view of how efficiently tasks are handled. Customer satisfaction, right? A shorter lead time ensures quicker delivery to customers. An example of lead time essentially is a support ticket spends 2 days in the backlog, 1 day in progress, 2 more days for testing, totaling a lead time of 5 days, right? It's from the beginning of when it's added to the backlog to when it's completed. That's the total lead time. So somebody asks you for lead time, you say, okay, well, I know the completion of this process takes this amount of time. That's your lead time. Why it matters? Well, long lead times can frustrate customers or stakeholders. Measuring lead time helps teams focus on reducing delays in the overall process. 6, the 6th agile metric and reporting tool that you would use is cumulative flow diagram, right? CFD, visualizing workflow. Right, a definition of CFD is a visual chart that displays the number of tasks in each stage of the workflow over time. Right, so how it's used is identifies bottlenecks. A flat or widening section in the in progress area signals a bottleneck, right, ensuring smooth flow. It tracks whether tasks are progressing evenly across the workflow. Right, an example is that a CFD shows that the tasks are piling up in the review column, indicating a bottleneck caused by insufficient reviewers, right? So this is very simple to think about. I want you guys to, if it's not in the back of the book, and some of these things may not be in the back of the book, I want you guys to go to Google, research it, right? Because that's the easiest way to gain some understanding. Sometimes just seeing it one time in the back of the book or just seeing the example that I provide doesn't paint the full picture, because a lot of times there's variations of how you would use this tool or how you would see this tool. And so I want you guys to really dive deep into this stuff and understand what it is, because as they ask questions about a cumulative flow diagram, you have to be able to answer it based off of your knowledge, not based off of a picture that's presented, because they may not have a picture that's presented. You may have to answer it off of your knowledge of what a cumulative flow diagram is. So it's better to research more often than not gain a deeper understanding of what it truly is, and then move forward from there. This is just giving you an overview so that you have the resources and the idea in your mind for you to essentially pull from while you're researching it deeper, right? This is to give you that top level view of what this stuff is. 7, escape defects, right? So measuring product quality. Definition for this is escape defects refer to issues or bugs discovered after the product has been delivered to the customer, right? It's escaped defects. It makes sense, right? Measuring product quality. So how it's used, right? So quality assessment tracks the effectiveness of testing and quality assurance, right? It's also continuous improvement, identifying areas to strengthen in the quality process. Example, right? So after delivering a software update, 2 bugs are reported by customer. The team investigates why these defects were missing during testing, and then they also fix them, right? So that's part of escape defects. Is something that you would utilize in order to understand in order to measure the quality of your product, right? A lot of times, especially in code, it's hard to get away from defects and bugs and things like that you have to fix. That's why you're always getting updates on your apps, right? Nobody's perfect, right? No code is perfect, right? Just always a way to improve. So why it matters? Well, high escape defects rate signals that the need for improvement in the quality processes to maintain customer trust, right? Because if you have a whole bunch of defects in your product, right, that signals, it should signal something to you that something's wrong with your product, and you need to figure out why your processes that you're using are allowing so many defects to come out with this product. So moving into 8, right, the 8th agile metrics and reporting tool that you use is team happiness index, right? Gauging team morale, right? So this is always important. And why is this important? Well, if people are happy at work, they're probably going to work a little bit harder. They're probably going to work a little bit smarter. They're probably going to enjoy being at work. And so enjoying being at work is going to help you be more effective, right? So the team happiness index measures how satisfied and motivated team members are, often using surveys or discussion, right? So how it's used, you have morale monitoring, identifying any dissatisfaction or burnout within the team, and then retention and productivity. Happier teams are more productive and engaged, right? Example, right, during a retrospective, team members may rate their happiness as a 7 out of 10. Discussions reveal that the workload distribution could be improved, right? So a lot of times people get upset because they feel like they're doing more work than this person and getting paid the same wage. And so a lot of times you won't understand this if you're not in the weeds with them, right? You may not understand the how much work this may cost them, right? Because it may take this person 7 hours to complete this piece of code, and take this person 7 hours to complete this piece of code. But this piece of code may be significantly more complex than the other. And so they feel like they have the higher workload, and they want it to be distributed so that they can, well, one, feel like you're not going to have fairness, right? But you want to make sure it's as fair as possible. And you want to make sure that people are either they're compensated monetarily or with their time, right? So you got to figure out how that works within your organization, but you have to fairly compensate team and make sure that they feel as if their work is being appreciated and they're not being taken advantage of. So why it matters? Well, a motivated team is the foundation of project success. Addressing morale issues early prevents burnout and ensures high performance. And we all know this. We know this because if you're taking this exam, you know you've been a leader and you understand that a motivated team can accomplish almost anything, right? These metrics and tools are critical for agile teams to deliver value efficiently and continuously improve. But here's how they fit together, right? So velocity, burn down charts, and burn up charts help track progress and plan effectively. Cycle time, lead time, and CFDs focus on workflow optimization. And then escape defects and team happiness index measure product quality and team satisfaction, right? So this is important. Start by implementing a few of these metrics like velocity and burn down charts before expanding to more advanced tools like CFDs or lead time. But you should think about all these things, research all these things on your own. These are just overview definitions. These will get you by, right? If you understand this and you go out and you read a question, PMP related question, maybe not one of the ones that we gave you, but maybe something that you went out and found out on your own, and you understood these specifically, and hopefully you should be able to answer the question. Key principles of agile reporting, right? Clarity and conciseness. Agile reports should be easy to understand, focusing on the most relevant information for stakeholders. It should be value oriented, right? Reports must emphasize how the work contributes to achieving the project goals or delivering value to the customer. It also should be actionable insights, right? Reports are not just for tracking progress. They should help teams and stakeholders make informed decisions. Because as stakeholders, as project managers, because as a project manager, as the executives, they have to make informed decisions, right? And so you have to report accurate, right? You have to give them the information that they need to make a good decision. And if you don't, and the consequences, they make bad decisions, right? It's not going to look good for you, right? And so having that transparency, right, having that integrity, important. Common agile reports that you'll see is a sprint report, right, tracking sprint progress. What it is, a sprint report provides a summary of the current sprint's progress, showcasing completed work, ongoing tasks, and any blockers or impediments. Key metrics that you'll see is velocity, sprint goal status, and impediments. Purpose is for the sprint reports to keep stakeholders informed about short-term progress, providing the team with insights to adjust plans if necessary, right? So an example for this is down below, but why it matters, right? So sprint reports ensure alignment between the team and stakeholders, helping identify and address issues early. And you'll see that as a common theme throughout all reporting in general, right? All monitoring and controlling phases, right? All the processes within there. It's always to maintain that transparency, maintain continuous alignment. You need to make sure that you are engaging with the stakeholders as much as possible, allowing them to make decisions that will affect the project. 2, release report, right? So monitoring long-term goals. What it is, a release report tracks progress toward a major release or milestone, often spanning multiple sprints. Key metrics, burn down charts, right? So it shows the amount of work completed versus the total scope. You also have defect metrics, right? Highlighting the number of bugs resolved and the remaining bugs to resolve. Purpose, right? The report provides a high-level view of the project's trajectory, helping stakeholders understand if the release timeline is realistic, right? So you have an example right there, but why it matters is that release reports provide transparency on overall progress and ensures that adjustments to scope or timelines are communicated clearly. So we have, what, 1, 2, 3? We're gonna go over these. Cumulative flow report, ensuring workflow efficiency, right? So CFDs visually represent task movement across different workflow stages, right? To do, in progress, done. It's kind of on board, but that's essentially what this is. Key metrics, right? So task distribution, number of tasks in each workflow stage. Also cycle time, right? So how long tasks take to move through the workflow. And then bottlenecks, areas where tasks are piling up, indicating process inefficiencies. All right, so purposes, CFDs help teams identify bottlenecks and optimize workflows to ensure tasks move smoothly from start to finish. An example is a CFD for a web design project might show tasks piling up in the review column, indicating a need for more reviewers or streamlined feedback process. So it matters because visualizing workflow, teams can make data-driven decisions to improve efficiency and maintain consistent progress, right? And then we're moving into the last one, which is team health report, assessing the team's well-being. And so what it is that it combines metrics like morale, workload distribution, and overall team satisfaction to assess how well a team is functioning, right? So it has a happiness index, workload distribution, burnout indicators, right? This report ensures that the team is motivated, engaged, and operating at a sustainable pace, reducing the risk of burnout, right? And so you see how each one of these reports, right, had metrics, agile metrics, and reporting tools that are implemented within them, right? So you see how we're building on that. Make sure you take notice of that. See how each fits into each report. It's important. So why it matters for team health reports, right? So a healthy team is more productive and innovative. Regularly monitoring the team fosters a positive work environment and better project outcomes. We know this. So why is agile reporting important? Well, it provides value in these 3 key areas, which is transparency, efficiency, and guess what? What's the last one? Engagement, right? So transparency keeps stakeholders informed about progress, ensuring alignment with project goals. Efficiency highlights bottlenecks and inefficiencies, enabling team to make improvements. And then engagement fosters collaboration and trust between the team and the stakeholders. By incorporating these into your reports, into your agile practices, you can create a system that drives continuous improvement and value delivery. Right, so some of the best practices for agile metrics and reporting: focus on value. How many times do I have to say this, right? You need to focus on value in every project that you are a part of, because value is the king, right? Highlight metrics that demonstrate customer value, such as delivered increments and quality improvements. Promote transparency, right? That's the next best practice. Why is that? Well, sharing metrics openly with the team and stakeholders encourages collaboration and trust. Trust in you, right, will go a long ways with the stakeholders. They'll give you a longer leash and allow you to operate the way that you want to. And then 3, avoid misuse of metrics. Use metrics for improvement, not punishment or micromanagement, right? Metrics are used to improve on the processes that you already have in place, improve on the product that you plan on solving or plan on presenting. Make sure that you are improving and not using it to one, punish or micromanage your personnel. And then 4, combine metrics, right? Use multiple metrics for a comprehensive view of performance, right? You need to be able to see the entire picture. And sometimes this is why we included stuff like team health report, right? You need to understand the entire picture of what's going on. You guys aren't meeting metrics. Okay, well, are the people happy within your organization, right? Do they want to come to work? Do they feel like they're being treated fairly? Are they feeling tired? Are they feeling burned out? Right? You need to understand these things. You may have been able to keep this certain velocity for 3, 4, 5, 6 projects, and now they're burnt out. And on this project, you guys are falling behind because you use those velocities to schedule out, how many user stories or how many story points you could accomplish during this sprint. And now you're not meeting them, right? So you need to understand how to use these reports in order to make change and affect your team and improve the processes in which you follow. Challenges in agile metrics and reporting, right? So misinterpreting metrics, right? Solution is to provide context and explanations for metrics during reports. That sounds easy, like the solution sounds easier than it is. You need to make sure that you always think of the context of the report, right? Metrics don't mean anything without context. It's the same as analytics, like sports analytics, right? How many yards he threw doesn't mean anything without context, right? Does he have the best receivers, right? Were they trailing, right? Do they need to play catch-up ball, right? I'm talking about football. Like, these are things that you have to think about when you're talking about yardage, right? And how much weight it's going to carry in your decision. So, and then the last one that we have, the last 2 we have is misinterpreting metrics, over-reliance on velocity, and then stakeholder expectations, right? Stakeholder expectations align reports with stakeholder priorities, focusing on value delivery. Finally, we're here back at the practice scenarios where you're going to read through them, answer them how you think you would, and then read the answer insight with the PMI aligned answer, and then move into your practice questions. Like I said before, if you want info on how I would attack these practice questions, I have a playlist that you can go to, look at day 19, and we'll go through them together. So you finished those 10 questions. We're at the end of day reflection. Agile metrics provide the data-driven foundation for continuous improvement and effective stakeholder communication. Reflect on how you can apply these metrics to track your team's progress and value delivery, right? Are your current metrics aligned with your project goal, right? Tomorrow we'll move into day 20, agile tools and techniques, exploring tools like Jira, Trello, and others to implement agile practices. My bad, I can't read. So if you still want to study, which you should, make sure you're doing the process and map game, right? I know we're covering agile, but continue to do it. If you get 100%, move on to the flashcards. Test out of the flashcards, right? You should be doing tests with them. You should be doing matchmaking with them. You should be able to match the definition and the term together, right? At this point, we're over halfway through. You guys should be there. We want you to succeed as much as possible, and so continue to drive on. Continue to have that motivation. Obviously, you are investing into your business future, right? You're investing into your professional development, and so continue to do that. We're here to help you get to your goal. And so we'll see you tomorrow. And I keep saying and so, but it's fine. And so I'm weak. So with that being said, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.